lament for different circumstances. Therefore, because Gata Sunagatam Samcha Nam Chanti Panditaha Chanti Panditaha. While speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. Thus, as Krishna challenged Arjuna by saying that he was not a Pandita or a learned person, Bali Maharaj also challenged King Indra and his associates. In this material world, everything happens under the influence of time. Consequently, for a learned person who sees how things are taking place, there is no question of being sorry or happy because of the waves of material nature. After all, since we are being carried away by these waves, what is the meaning of being jubilant or morose? One who is fully conversant with the laws of nature is neither jubilant nor morose because of nature's activities. In Bhagavad Gita 2.14, Krishna advises that one be tolerant. Tamastitiksha Bharata. Following this advice of Krishna's, one should not be morose or unhappy because of circumstantial changes. This is the symptom of a devotee. A devotee carries out his duty in Krishna consciousness is never unhappy in awkward circumstances. He has full faith that in such circumstances Krishna protects his devotee. Therefore, a devotee never deviates from his prescribed duties of devotional service. The material qualities of jubilation and moroseness are present even in the demigods, who are very highly situated in the upper planetary system. Therefore, one who is undisturbed by so-called favorable and unfavorable circumstances of this material world, he should be understood to be Brahma Bhuta or self-realized. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 1854, Brahma Bhuta Prasan Atma na sochati na kanshati. One who is transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyous. When one is undisturbed by material circumstances, he should be understood to be one on the transcendental stage above the reactions of the three modes of material nature. I'm reading the translation one more time. Seeing the movements of time, those who are cognizant of the real truth neither rejoice nor lament for different circumstances. Therefore, because you are jubilant due to your victory, you should be considered not very learned. A pandita, that's the word being used. Pandita, intelligent. A pandita becomes opposite, becomes one who is not intelligent. Why not intelligent? Because saying na harshanti na sochyanti. An intelligent person is one who's supposed to be doing, he's not going to be harsha, like being jubilant, and na sochyanti, being morose. Now, even if you don't look at the Bhagavatam, even if you don't look at our Vedic scriptures, this entire concept of one who is not stably situated in emotions, we have seen examples where they're not called very intelligent, right? We would look at somebody and saying who's being so bubbly and so jumping, like, what are you happy for? Are you a fool for just being happy for such a small thing? Or for that matter, lamenting for something which is not worthwhile. Oh, I was in the flight and I lost my pen over there. For something, that person is being too attached to a certain thing or being too happy about certain thing, and the reaction you see is, you think that's too much for what you're actually getting. So even if we don't look at the Vedic scriptures, the idea of reacting too much with too excitement or too much sadness is not accepted even in the society otherwise. It's not called intelligence, it's not being called very stable, right? Now, there was one thing that I remember as an incident that happened when I was a kid. Okay, just a little quick background. I'm not going to do much of detail of it, but I used to play table tennis as a kid. Okay, and I had a coach. And there's this one incident where we were playing a tournament, and I was in a match which was literally neck to neck. Like, it was a very tough match, right? At the end, through a lot of challenge, I did end up winning, right? And now how do you do? How do you celebrate when you win? Like, you go, yay! and all jumping here and there. Anyways, the day ended. I won a couple of more matches. Everything happened, and then afterwards, this coach calls me up here, and I'm saying this from a materialistic platform perspective, right? We're not even diving into the scriptures right now. He says, "What were you jumping about? What did you win? Olympics?" Like, he's saying you're happy about right now because you won, but sooner or later you will lose. And just because you are happy, you lose focus. And you will lose focus, you will lose. And what is going to happen then to you? To your all motivation that I have to win, I have to continue one after the other. Yes.
There's an example of these videos in which a person is about to finish the track line and then he's just so happy and
yes,
he falls down. That's like a good example.
Correct. Yes. That's so many. The story that we have heard as when we were a kid, right? The tortoise and the hare, right? The same situation over there. If we are being too excited or too, worked down with emotions, both of them, even on the platform of materialistic thinking, is also not very good. We clearly say, be consistent, continuously put in effort, don't go through that spike of emotions, right? But what is interesting over here is, let's look at the scriptures for a second, right? Now, we are saying over here very clearly in this verse that, Indra, you're jumping too much, right? What the context, everybody understands the context of where this verse is coming from? So there is a battle happening between the demons and the demigods. And because of the Supreme Personality Godhead's support, now the demigods are winning. They're in that position where they are being able to overpower. Right before this, the demons were able to use their illusionary power and put the demigods into illusion. And they were like, what do we do? What do we do? And they went to Krishna and said, please help us out. They helped them, and now they are empowered by Krishna, and now they're winning. And now Indra is all very excited about it. That's what Bali Maharaj is indicating over here. So there is a clear-cut verse in the scripture also talking about too much excitement when circumstances are favorable is not very good. On the same way, we have seen the example that Srila Prabhupada talks about, this 2.11 Bhagavad Gita words, where Arjuna is lamenting, is thinking, what do I do? And again has lost his intelligence and that clarity of mind of what his duties is and what his actions is supposed to be. So very clearly, the both ends of the spectrum, Indra being too excited, Arjuna being too sad, both of them is not being considered as being intelligent. Coincidentally, not exactly coincidentally, it's actually by arrangement, the word Pandita is used in both the cases. Right? Pandita, the word Pandit means an expert, who is very expert, and expert, knowledged, you can kind of go in together. So one who is expert and is knowledged is the one who will be called a Pandita. And both of them have been addressed as a Pandita, that because you're taking that too big a swing in your emotions, you're not a Pandita. We'll deep dive into this concept. But the idea is that stability shows as being an attribute of intelligence. If you are intelligent, through this, what we understand is that stability in your emotions is an attribute for your intelligence. If you're not intelligent, you will not show stability of emotions also. And if you're intelligent, then you will end up showing stability of your emotions in some ways. But this intelligence, right? Why is such a behavior is not being called as being intelligent? Let's first go into that as a subject matter. Why is that you're being too excited or being too sad? Like having emotions, is that wrong? Are we supposed to be dull robots? Or is the aspect of being too jubilant and too sad is what is the problem, right? So why are we saying it as not being intelligent? It's because we understand the fact that, as my coach was saying, right? You won now, but you will lose later. The idea which is being said over here is seeing the movement of time. You're subjected to time in the aspect that if you have a favorable situation right now, it will turn to unfavorable later. And in an unfavorable situation, it will turn to a favorable situation. And being excited about a temporary phase itself, that, oh, wow, now, but later you go down is not very intelligent, because it does not leads to a stable, steady flow of your working habits, right? On a very simple platform, that is why it is said. But let's understand this a little bit more. There is this amazing verse. Srila Prabhupada in the purport is talking about only the last part of it. But the full verse is Matra Sparshastu Konteya Shitosna Sukha Dukkada Agamma Paino Nityas Tamas Titiksha Bharata. Now he's saying Matra Sparshastu Konteya. He's saying Konteya, Matra Sparshas. This, because of the touching of the senses with the sense objects. Sparsha, that is where it is Shitosna, like the coming and going of the summers and winters. Sukha dukkha daha, that is how the happiness and sorrow is going to come and go. One who understands this, that this entire aspect of things being favorable now and becoming unfavorable later is just an influence of time. It is going to come and it is going to go. Being too jubilant or too emotional about one aspect of the swing of this pendulum does not lead us to being very intelligent, because we know the swing is going to go the other side also. Right, so we have these experiences in our life also, right? If you are one person who is very jubilant, very excited, very bubbly every time, and then something unfavorable happens, you will be the person who would be the most sad, quiet, and like sulking in the corner also. And people see these mood swings happening. It's a term used, mood swings. Even again, I'm coming on the materialistic platform also. The society does not like it. Why? Because it does not show intelligence, right? So intelligence is to have this knowledge that the aspect of these favorable and unfavorable situations coming and going, being able to have that knowledge is what is intelligence. So why? So if we categorize that overall in general, right? Intelligence would be having knowledge, and having knowledge about especially what impacts you the most, right? So I not having knowledge about what's happening on the other side of the world in some country in their politics cannot be categorized as I being less intelligent. But if I'm not having intelligence enough to understand that I need to wash my hands to make sure that I remain healthy, that is not intelligence. Why? Because that is impacting me. What are like things which are not influencing you? Not knowing about them is fine, but something that is at the hard core of your existence itself, if you don't know about that, then that is not intelligence. Knowledge is to know about these things which influence you, right? So let's see how Srila Prabhupada talks about getting this knowledge. He talks about this very beautifully in many different books, especially the small books. He says there are different ways in which this knowledge can be acquired, and based on that, your intelligence can be assessed. He's saying the most intelligent person is the one who would get this knowledge just by hearing and reading. Just through the aspect of, I've read this in a book, somebody told me, without the need of an experience itself, just by process of hearing, one who understands the truth itself and realizes that is the most intelligent. That Srila Prabhupada says. Is the most intelligent. Okay. Then the second level of intelligence is one you did not understand it through reading or listening process, but you went through an experience of it in some way or the other. Let's take an example. Okay. We say that fire burns. Don't stick your hand inside fire. It will burn you. It will hurt you. Somebody will just hear it and learn it from that. Most intelligent person. The other one would experience it by seeing somebody else putting in their hand into fire, getting burned, and said, I'm not going to do this. So learning by others' experience is also intelligence. Not the most intelligent, but it is still intelligence. So if I see others going through a certain experience that, oh, he was happy today, now look, he's sad, or for that matter, the other knowledge that we're going to talk about, all of that aspect, if I see on others' experience, that is also still intelligence. Then the next level of lesser intelligent, still intelligent, but lesser intelligent is the one who would learn by their own experience. Right? So these are the people who would say, okay, I've stuck my hand into the fire and got burnt. So I know I'm not going to do it. These are the people who would think like, he does not know how to do things. I know it, I'll be able to handle it. right? The person is not very consistent, very is not consistently working hard, he's not taking right decisions. That is why he had happiness and he had sadness. But I am intelligent, right? I'm amazing, I'm the best of the world. I will be able to manage doing things so intelligently that I will always be happy. But only when they come to the experience where they come to unfavorable circumstances, that is when they start realizing it's temporary. The final is not intelligent. A fool is the one, no matter what happens, they don't learn. Even if their hand is burned, still they will do the same thing again. Even when they have experienced that the happiness and sorrow in this material world is all temporary in nature, still they do not stop considering the fact that they can still permanently remain happy in the material world. That is what is foolishness. And it is such a foolishness which leads us to continuously be getting that swings of happiness and sadnesses, right? So now this knowledge about things being temporary in nature is the most fundamental knowledge, right? But let's understand this. Krishna just does not talk about these things on a very theoretical platform. He's explaining why, right? We understand from the verse that dehi no asmin yatha dehe komaram yovanam jara tata dehantaram praptis dhiras tatra namuyati. He's saying dhira person is the one who will not get impacted once he knows the fact that there is a permanent soul and a temporary body, right? So this concept, this is the most fundamental knowledge of all Vedic knowledge, or for that matter, any knowledge in that matter. Because once we have understood the aspect that whatever is happening on the bodily platform is all temporary, and then we understand that this is matra sparshastu kontya shitosna sukha dukkada, that the reason for the happiness and sorrow is that the senses are getting in contact with the sense object, and I am not this body, but an eternal soul. Only then do we come to a point of knowledge which is going to help us out, right? So that is the most fundamental knowledge. That is the guiding principle on top of which everything else comes in, right? So this fundamental knowledge is very, we understand it because let's realize this. Till when I don't know who am I, can I do anything which is good for me? It's a very debatable question, right? Can I go and wash your car without knowing which car is yours? Can I come and feed my friend till when I don't know who my friend is? Till when we don't know whom are we actually doing an activity for the benefit of, how can we do anything? So why is this the most fundamental knowledge coming in at the very starting of the Bhagavad Gita itself? Is because without understanding who we actually are, we cannot do anything for the benefit of ourselves. So that becomes the most fundamental knowledge, which is going to lead us to intelligence, that I am not this body, but an eternal soul. Once we understand that, that is when we understand I'm not the body, I'm not the senses, engagement, happiness, and sorrow coming in because the senses is not what is going to be for me, the permanent one. It is going to be with the body, going to go away with the body. Right? So that fundamental knowledge is what we call as the self-realization, which is the most sold terminology out there. Every books are being sold on the name of self-realization. All yoga centers are running on the name of self-realization. All motivational speakers are running by the name of self-realization. But all of these realization aspect that everybody is talking about is without the knowledge of the self. So those are incomplete. But the knowledge that we are getting through our parampara system is practically the ultimate self-realization, because it is the ultimate knowledge of realization of the self, which is eternal. Any other realization about the self in terms of I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I'm an Indian, I'm a Canadian, etc., is not the ultimate realization, because it does not lead us to a permanent identification. Right? It's an identification which is temporary, so it cannot be called ultimate self-realization. Now, this knowledge and this understanding is what is ultimately which is differentiating us from animals also. Let's understand that. It is the knowledge which is meant for the human form of life. We have got that intelligence, we've got that Tarka Shakti, where we are able to debate out things and reason out things. With that, reasoning is being given to us to be able to come to this knowledge. There are four things that our scriptures talk about which are common between the animals and us. And the only differentiator is this knowledge. Right? What are the four common things? Correct. Ahar, Nidra, Bhai, Maithun. Right? We will eat, we will sleep, we will mate, we will defend ourselves, we'll do all of these things like the animals does, but in a much more probably glorified or polished manner. But we ultimately do the same thing only. The only one thing that differentiates us from the animals is the fact that we understand who we are and we start acting and following the duties based on that true identity, which is what we are calling in the script, what is being called in the scriptures as the following of the Dharma. What is that Dharma? It's the Sanatan Dharma, which is the eternal duty that we have. What is the eternal duty? It's to serve Krishna. Right? So, what we have done is, we was talking about intelligence. And then we were talking about being stable. We talked about being dhira, being equipoised, being stable. And then we have come up to becoming a devotee. Now, if we realize this is a triangle. On one side of the triangle is being Pandita, or any root word coming in from the root word Buddhi is on one side of it. It's Pandita. Okay. On the other side is being Dhira, stable. And on the other side is becoming a devotee, Bhakta. Pandita, Dhira, Bhakta, all these three are connected with each other, because you cannot be a Dhira till when you are an intelligent Pandita, and that you cannot be if you're not a devotee. You cannot be a devotee till when you're not able to control your emotions, till when you don't have the knowledge about yourself. You can connect all of these continuously always. So if we see this, these are words in the dictionary itself of it mean different things. Dhira means somebody who's stable, equipoised. Right? Pandita or Buddhimana is the person who is intelligent, who has knowledge. And Bhakta is a devotee. Technically, the three words are very different. But if we look very carefully at Srila Prabhupada's translations, he uses this as if these are all, same meanings. So there are so many verses in Bhagavad Gita also where the verse is Buddhimana or something Buddhi, but he translates that to devotee. Because Srila Prabhupada understands the fundamentals of this principle, and if we read the purport carefully, he's hinting towards that also in this purport. He talks about being a devotee, he talks about being stable, and he talks about being intelligent, in all of them being connected. So, that is the biggest secret, the most confidential knowledge. We can achieve everything, and we can be achieving all of these things, because when we become a devotee, in its true sense, by following the parampara system, by following the previous acharyas, following everything that they have taught us, we automatically develop the other symptoms of becoming a pandita, an intelligent person, and a dhira, and a stable person. That change automatically happens, right? And it's as I said, it's a triangle. Each of them empowers back towards becoming a better bhakta. Right? So this is the most fundamental knowledge. Without this understanding of the triangle itself, we cannot come to the Brahma Bhuta stage. Right? What is the words? Brahma Bhuta prasanna atma, na sochati na kanchati. So when you understand Brahma Bhuta, which means you have come to that stage of intelligence where you understand the difference between body and soul, the Brahma realization. So Brahma Bhuta prasanna atma, now you are happy. Eternally, continuously happy. And na sochati na kanchati, that stable dhira aspect also has come in. Right? Again, these verses, all of them, we can see this combination, this aspect of three things coming in together in so many different verses, because that's the most fundamental aspect of our scriptures. Right? So without this, there is no Brahma Bhuta stage, without understanding this. And without Brahma Bhuta stage, there is no realization. And without realization, without we knowing who we are, there is nothing left. We're just kind of doing something else here and there, right? So now the question that comes is, this realization stage, how is this Brahma Bhuta stage the most fundamental stage? That also Srila Prabhupada explains to us very nicely. Now, Brahma Bhuta, or when we say Brahma Bhuta stage, it kind of ideally, technically would cover everything, because once you are becoming intelligent, you will understand all the realizations. But the stages of realization, as Prabhupada explains in so many purports, is the first is the Brahman realization. Now, it's not the full intelligence, but it is the starting of it. What is Brahman realization? The Brahman realization is when we have started understanding the difference between matter and spirit, which means we have started to understand the difference between body and soul. Now, for us, it is just this is matter, Panchatattva, everything, matter, and there is spirit. Now, I don't understand the difference between levels of spirits and anything else. I don't have Tattva Jnana at all. So, for me, now I'm at a stage where I am not this body, I'm spirit, supreme is spirit, this is spirit, everything is the same. I've not been able to differentiate that understanding of differentiation between spirit itself is not there. It's just material, not material. That's it. When we go further and get into deeper into realization, we start getting the realization of there being a higher power. And we start coming to the realization of the existence of Paramatma. We have now come to the point of realizing I am here and there is somebody supreme to me. Till Brahma realization said everything is the same. Now we have been able to create two levels. That there is something supreme and there is me. So now we have started realizing that I have to kind of somewhere or the other have some relationship with the supreme. That's it. But who that supreme is, that realization is not fully there. Because only you are trying to meditate within the Paramatma, within your heart. So it could lead to impersonal behavior again, but not necessarily if you understand Paramatma is the Chaturbhuji Roop of Vishnu. So ones who are able to actually realize that Paramatma in the Chaturbhuji stage will go to the Bhagavana realization stage, where they will come to the point of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So this is the knowledge, this is where did it all start with? From the Brahman realization, from understanding that very fundamental knowledge, I am not this body. So it is a fundamental knowledge. This knowledge or this intelligence about the self is fundamental from the perspective of the Vedic knowledge realization perspective, fundamental from the perspective of the triangle of coming up to the core aspect of understanding and fulfilling your blissful state, right? So let's come back to Bali Maharaj, the context of where this verse came in. So Bali Maharaj is considered as a devotee, like he's very respected as being somebody who serves Krishna in his own ways, right? Because again, he had his service was that he was the king of the demons. So he understands his duties, and he did his duty irrespective of whatever the situation was. If we read this entire couple of chapters, like 2-3 chapters before and 1 or 2 chapters ahead also, we will see that Bali Maharaj was ready to fight in favorable and in unfavorable circumstances, and he was being equipoised. That is why he's an intelligent person. Yes, bro.
Was he a devotee before this stage or after this?
He has been a devotee, and he is showing the symptoms of being a devotee. Now he's doing his service that he's been given to him by acting as the king of demons, but he is a devotee.
Then when an army is being led by a devotee, how can they be certain?
See, we have to understand this aspect, right? There are let's say a Vaishnava is very merciful. They're always trying to uplift the consciousness of others, bring them back to Krishna. But what is Maya Devi? She's also a devotee of the Lord. But her service is to keep them away from and get them into illusion. But that is their service. They're doing things because that is the service been assigned to them.
Even demons and then because they both were fighting over material things.
Okay, let's understand this. The demons were fighting for materialistic things. The demigods were fighting for material things, correct. But Bali Maharaj is creating all that strength within the demons to be able to give a strong opposition to the demigods so that Krishna can come and do his leelas. Otherwise, how would that churning of ocean happen? How would all of those leelas, how will that entire leela of being able to glorify Lord Shiva is going to happen? How will we able to get the pleasure of being able to discuss about the tortoise incarnation of the Lord? We'll not have got any of that. How would we even, going further, how will we even have the darshan or knowledge about Vamanadev? All the different aspects. All that is possible because Bali Maharaj is doing his duty of being acting as the king of demons. Because Krishna wants to do all these leelas. Right? So the attitude is different. Right? He's doing all of these things because that is the duty he's been assigned to, like Mayadevi. But does not mean he's materialistic in mind. And he's showing that. A materialistic person will never be so dhira, stable. Like he is, even if he is winning, even if he's losing, whatever, he's still consistently putting in that position. I have to fight, I have to fight, I have to fight. That's it. And he's saying such intelligent words here. He's showing intelligence. Right? Those are the symptoms of a devotee. So we have to consider Bali Maharaj in that aspect. He's doing his duties. Right? So he's acting as a dhira, as we've seen. Like he's also, and thank you for bringing that up. Even when Vamanadev comes and he's practically taken everything from Bali Maharaj, did he even show a second of remorse? Oh, I was thinking of the three worlds and I've got nothing now. He's not. He's stable. Those are the symptoms of being a devotee. Right? So, because he was knowledgeable and he acted in that knowledge, we respect him, even if he was a demon in the sense of his birth. We still respect him as Bali Maharaj. That's why we kind of give him that gratitude, right? So now, the question that should come in the last 5-10 minutes of ours would be, fine, we've talked about the qualities, we've talked about the knowledge, we've talked about an example as Bali Maharaj having that knowledge, but how do we get to that knowledge state? That is the most important point. It's the plan of action now. What do we do to come to that stage? This can only and only be achieved when we are fully surrendered to Krishna. Right? He says, what's the verse? Sarva dharma parityaja mama ekashanantaja am sam dharma papebhyo mokshami master. I'll liberate you from all of these things once you fully surrender to me. What does it mean to fully surrender? It's a very simple phrase which we can use if we want to, but we'll understand that. It's saying in every time, place, and circumstance, every thought, action, and deed to be done for the pleasure of Krishna or for Krishna. That is full surrender. There should be no time, place, or circumstances where we are deviating from it. There is no action or a thought or a deed that we are doing that deviates from it. That is when we are fully surrendered in a simplified manner, understanding it. There are two examples that I'm going to talk about, which is full surrender, just to make it very clear. When we say full surrender, which means exclusively full surrender. You cannot be fully surrendered to one person while you're doing something else to please somebody else and surrender to them. That's not possible. Full surrender means exclusive surrender. Let's take an example of, I'll take a different example first. I was reading Ramayana, and in that this came up, and I really loved that as an example. So Hanuman had crossed over the ocean and had reached Lanka. And he had met Mother Sita and then started creating chaos over there to create a little fear in the minds of everybody at Lanka, right? Finally, one after the other, there are warriors coming after, and he's defeating all of them single-handedly, no effort at all. Then Ravan's son Indrajit, he comes. Now, he uses the Brahmastra to bind Hanuman. Okay? So Brahmastra is one of the highest weapon systems. Now, leaving aside the aspect where Hanuman, out of respect for Lord Brahma, accepted to be binded by Brahmastra, and he could have very clearly, taken over it, but he did not do that. But the aspect is this, right? What happens next is what is important to understand. When Hanuman was binded by Brahmastra, all the army of Ravana knew what Hanuman has already done. They had realized his strength. And they are thinking, oh, Brahmastra is binding him, but you know what? He's a naughty monkey. He'll escape again. Let's bind him with more ropes. Right? So all of these army brought in, they brought the word. And this is when Indrajit realizes why. Because any weapon system also requires a surrender to them. When Brahmastra was binding Hanuman, it was because Indrajit was like, I surrender to you, Brahmastra, please go and do my deed because I'm not able to do it myself, whatever, right? But as soon as you start tying in ropes on top of it, you have lost faith in Brahmastra and it loses its grip. And now Indrajit is like, this monkey is going to escape again. He knew it because as soon as you lose faith in that full surrender that yes, I have faith that Brahmastra will continue binding Hanuman, but the once that faith was lost and more ropes were used, Brahmastra lost its power. Or rather, not that it lost its power, it gave up its power, saying, let the ropes take care. Why am I needed here? In the same context, in the same principle, like would also apply to Draupadi. Till when Draupadi was trying to take help from Bhishma Pitama, here, there, everybody, please save me, please save me, please save me, Krishna did not come. You see, till when she did not come to the point of an exclusive surrender to Krishna, where saying, Krishna, only you and only you can save me. I'm also not even making an attempt now. That is full exclusive surrender. Prahlad Maharaj. All of these are examples where the surrender is exclusive. There's nobody else. Even if we talk of the cases where there is ahotiki kripa, where there is causeless mercy like Ajamin, even at that time, think of the mindset that he had. Narayan, only you can save me. He was talking about the son, but he was saying exclusive, only you can save me, now nobody else can. That's exclusive surrender. So if we think that we are going to be worshipping Krishna, while we think of, let me just make sure I'm not making anybody else angry, which could be a demigod, which could be a family member, which could be anything else also, then is that surrender exclusive? It is not. Till when we don't come to that exclusive surrender state, we cannot reach to that. That exclusive surrender also means an exclusive effort towards Krishna only. Does not mean morning 4:30 to 9 o'clock I'll be Krishna conscious, 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock is my movie time, and then maybe for 1 hour I'll be Krishna conscious and nah, that's not exclusive. What my Guru Maharaj talks about is don't be a viper. Viper goes swish, swash, swish, swash, swish. Materialistic, spiritual. Materialistic, spiritual. Stop doing that. He says that. Right? Be consistent. Be on the side of being surrendered to Krishna completely, fully, always. Yes, we are not there. But that process is also being told to us, how do we reach there? We have a lot of dirt within our heart because of which that full surrender is not coming. Well, how do we think? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vishnu. Like that is how we do it. Like, and then we kind of understand the processes also. The first stage is Shraddha. The next is Nishtha. And like this, and you come to Anartha Nivritti and all, right? So basically, when we are following all these processes, what we have been given by our previous acharyas, by our Gurudevs, by Srila Prabhupada, everything else that we are reading over here, if we have full faith in the process, then we will slowly and slowly develop the taste. With developing that taste, all the anartha, unwanted things within our heart are going to go away. And that is when we come to the stage of prema ultimately, when we continuously, consistently keep making that effort. Let's not do the Hathi Snana. What is Hathi Snan? The bathing of the elephant. I'll go, take my dip, clean myself, come out, start throwing dirt on myself. Let's stop doing that. Right? We were reading about the offenses, the Nama Aparad. Right? Don't use the holy name as a method which you're thinking can counteract your sinful activities. We do that in some way or the other. So what do? We are in a stage where we are not fully there yet. We understand the process. We are trying to go through that process. We are struggling. And full surrender and full faith is the only ways in which we can overcome this struggle within our heart also. So my Guru Maharaj very interestingly says this. He says, be fully surrendered to Krishna. If you're not able to, fully surrender to the prayers to Krishna that please, I can be fully surrendered to you. If you cannot do that, fully surrender and pray to Krishna that I can pray to you that I can fully surrender to Krishna. If you cannot even do that, pray that I can pray that I can pray. Right? So it is like that. Whatever our stage is, that strong prayer from within our heart is what will help us out. Because when we praying strongly within our heart, that is the point when that desire is expressed. He said, as Paramatma Krishna is within our heart, he can see what's there in your heart actually. And when that true desire develops, he's going to make things happen. To conclude, let me tell you this as a very beautiful Leela of Lord Narasimha. So, how many of us has visited Mayapur? Jai. Lord Narasimha's darshan you've had? If you, in Mayapur especially, that book is there. But probably you will find it other places. So there's a very tiny small book about Lord Narasimha, black cover. Fantastic. There are all these leelas that is mentioned about Lord Narasimha, deity is in Mayapur and how he reciprocates with his devotees. So this is this leela about some devotee who's, by the way, I've tried this myself also, it works effectively. He goes and he stands in front of Lord Narasimha, Lord Narasimha, Lord Narasimha, I want to fully surrender to Krishna. Please, 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 please. Right? He goes, he's done his prayers very sincerely, he goes back and goes to bed. In the night, he feels like, I'm not able to breathe. His heaviness on my chest. I'm not able to breathe. He opens his eyes. Lord Narasimha is sitting on his chest. And he takes his nails, claws, digs inside it, takes out all these black stuff. Said, this is the dirt within your heart. What do I do with it? And he's saying, please throw it away. Please throw it away. Basically what I'm trying to come to is, like, Lord Narasimha especially is very merciful in this aspect. And the deities in Mayapur, the Ugra Narasimha is especially very merciful. But that does not mean we cannot pray to Radhakirti or Gopinath or anybody else. We can. The more intense our prayer is, they reciprocate. And any devotee who has even once prayed with intensity will surely have had the experience of how they reciprocate in order to reciprocate that prayer of yours. So pray extensively. Please remove all of this dirt from my heart so that I can fully surrender onto you and be intelligent. That's where we will stop for any questions. 2 minutes for that. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you so much for a great class.
Thank you.
My question is around the last point that you mentioned about prayers and the importance. So on average, we get thousands of thoughts every day. Some of them could be prayers. Most of them, in all humility, are material thoughts, at least in my case. But when we stand before the deities, we slightly polish our prayers.
Yeah.
So Paramatma has already heard what has come to our minds, and the deities are hearing the polished version.
Right.
What them do that?
They know both, but they will accept the fact that you are at least wanting to make a sincere prayer. They know that. So they know where you are intending to be and they reciprocate to you accordingly. So they know you're not there to be able to make sincere prayers, but at least you are trying. So they will make you enabled to be able to make a sincere prayer. And then they will listen to that prayer. Anybody else? Let's go there. Yes, thank you.
So, Prabhu, great class. So, in first time you mentioned we should not be too much jubilant or morose in any situation. So, suppose if someone is going to Vrindavan for the first time and he is too excited. So, what is that? Is that more of intelligence or?
Good question. That's on the spiritual platform. We're talking on the platform of materialistic views only. Being excited about going to Vrindavan is amazing. That is the excitement that we need. So we know the definitions, karma, vikarma, akarma, right? So these are all on the stages of akarma in the sense that these are not categorized as being jubilant. If you're not being able to do your service well and you're sad about it and you think, no man, I'm so pathetic, I don't do services well, even that is okay. Okay? So you had a question, Prabhu.
Yes, I have two questions, Prabhu. One, the surrender comes when you first know who you are.
Right.
Second, you know the other person
Yes.
and the relationship between you.
Yes. Sambandha jnana.
So, surrender is secondary, but first to realize who I am.
Yes.
How will I get to know that?
Your understanding about who you are is going to come from multiple ways. Sankhya philosophy analytically understand that you're not this body. Or surrender to the parampara system and listen from an authorized source and accept it. Or use jnana process, read the scriptures very extensively, through that understand, through knowledge, that you're not this body. You can follow any path, but you have to come to the point of understanding and realizing that. So these different yoga systems is because of that. Yes, Prabhu.
The second question was, you mentioned Draupadi surrendering up. Sometimes that surrender feels like giving up. Like when you gave up on something, then the surrender came. It's somewhere, confuses us.
Good point.
Giving up.
Good point. Difference between surrender and giving up. When we say, I'm not able to do it, and you sit down and do nothing, that's giving up. Which is what Arjuna was doing initially. I'm not going to fight.
But the surrender comes out of, that conclusion when you give up, and then you surrender.
That is fine. Right? Be like Arjuna, right? I'm giving up. I'm not able to understand this myself. Then you surrender, saying, Krishna, please help me with the knowledge. That is fine. But giving up by itself alone, by saying, I'm not doing it, man, forget it. Can't. Too much. And then you don't do anything. That is giving up. That's not good. When you give up, I'm not able to do it myself, and accept the help. With your help, let me try doing it. That is okay. The difference is, Prabhu, when we realize we are not able to do it on our own, that is good. You need help. Because when you realize that you need help, you will approach somebody for help, and then the point is you take that help and take action after that. That is fine as a path. But if you look at things and say, I'm not going to do it, give it up completely, and don't do anything after that, that's wrong. So I think this was Chaitanya Charita Prabhu also was talking about as one of the Sunday Feast lectures, and let that be the last point for today. If you are self-reflecting and realizing that you are not there, and that lack in your capability, if you're using that as a motivation, fantastic. If that is demotivating, putting you down, throw it away. Only if that self-realization of you lacking with something leads you to get motivated, I want to get this done, I want this quality, I want to learn this skill, I want to be able to do better, whatever it is. If you're able to motivate, good. If you're not able to get motivation out of it, there's something wrong. Leave that thought for now. Fair? Yes. Let's talk during Prashada. I think we are at time. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.